Very good morning, it's Penuel the Black Pen. I hope you've had an amazing weekend and I hope you're having a great day so far. First and foremost, man, I'd like to thank and congratulate everyone who was involved in the Rugby World Cup 2023. It was a very, very exhilarating, interesting, nail-biting World Cup, and I don't even know if we've had a World Cup that's been this intense. It's been absolutely sensational. Of course, I would like to celebrate the mighty Bokke, the mighty Springboks, on winning the 2023 Rugby World Cup. I do believe that they are the most deserving of this World Cup, and they actually played the top six, if I'm not mistaken, the top six rugby sides to win this World Cup. So it was the most difficult journey. They played Ireland, who were the best team in the world at the time. They played France, who were the second best team in the time and the hosts of the Rugby World Cup. And thank you so much to the French for hosting us. They played Scotland, of course. They played New Zealand in the final, which was a breathtaking final. They literally, in the quarters, I think they won by 1 point. In the semis, they won by 1 point. And in the final, they won by 1 point. The New Zealand All Blacks were gutted. You know, I saw the cries on Jordie Barrett's face and the other guys there. But the Springboks really did everything they needed to do in the first half. And of course, thanks to a red card on Sam Cane, they played against 14 men. It's one of the sad things that I take out from the World Cup. I think the refereeing, the television match officials, and maybe the rules and the regulations really spoiled the whole World Cup, not just the final. In some of the rules, the shots to the head, the yellow cards, the red cards, and the inconsistent calls were really, really sad for me. And the refs kind of spoiled the World Cup for me. But outside of that, the boys gave it their absolute all. And shout out to the Springboks, man. Shout out to Siya Kolisi, Coach Jacques Nienaber, Rassie Erasmus, of course, the Maverick and the genius. Dwayne Vermeulen, Bongi Mbonambi, Eben Etzebeth, Peter Steph Dutoy, my favorite Springbok, really rose to the occasion in the final. Cheslin Colby, my second favorite Springbok, who was very emotional at the end with his yellow card, and he pulled through. Manny Libok, Andre Pollard, a superstar. You know, he's the highest paid rugby player in the world, and he proved why. In the semi-final against England, stepping up, and of course in the final as well with the 12 points that came from his boot. Very sad that Richie Mo'unga missed a very important kick, and very sad that Jordie Barrett, a very, very difficult long-range kick that just went to the left. But the All Blacks with 14 men really showed why they're one of the greatest sports franchises in the world, and they can hold their heads high. Everyone had written them off before the World Cup, especially after they took a huge loss to the Springboks, but they rose to the occasion, and they literally, from playing Ireland and defeating Ireland, showed why they are so immense. And I'd like to think the South African supporters and the Springboks showed how much they actually respect the New Zealand All Blacks. Even with the loss, there was no chirps. There was no one bashing New Zealand. There was no one saying the All Blacks suck or they chokers. There was really, really serious mutual respect on both sides. Watching Ardie Savea hug Siya Kolisi at the end was something really, really special. I need to give a special shout out to Ardie Savea from New Zealand. He's won the World Player of the Year. I know Eben Etzebeth was nominated. I know Antoine Dupont from France was nominated. I'm not sure if I'm missing. I know there's someone I'm missing. Bandi Aki, who was my favorite Rugby World Cup player and my World Player of the Year. But Ardie Savea, very well deserved. Mark Telea, the left wing of the New Zealand All Blacks, winning the Breakthrough Player of the Year. He was sensational and very slippery in the final. I know South Africa's Manny Libok was nominated as well. I think there may have been two other players that were nominated. And then Andy Farrell, the coach of Ireland, who's actually English-born. Andy Farrell winning Coach of the Year. Very well deserved, because Ireland has been a sensational team in the last couple of years thanks to the leadership of Andy Farrell. Andy Farrell also happens to be the father of the English captain and the fly half, Owen Farrell. You know, an amazing family to see. So shout out to Andy Farrell as well for winning that. I believe Jacques Nienaber and a few other coaches were nominated as well. It's been quite an emotional World Cup, man. And again, shout out and a huge congratulations to the Springboks. Listening to Siya Kolisi's speeches afterwards, listening to Coach Jacques Nienaber speaking afterwards, we're probably going to be hearing from people like Oxenche, who stole the semi-final away from England. We're going to be hearing from class acts like Andre Pollard. We're going to be listening to Cheslin Colby. We're going to be listening to people that led an amazing Springbok team in the playoffs. Manny Libok, of course, Kobus Reinach. We're going to be hearing from the new boys, Kurtley Arendse, Kanan Moody. We're going to be hearing from the old boys, Damien Dialende, Jesse Kriel, Eben Etzebeth, one of the standout players of this year. People like Franco Mostert, RG Snyman, Kwacha Smith, Dion Fourie, the Bomb Squad boys who are sensational, Trevor Nyagane, Abo Franz Malherbe, Steven Kitchoff, Faf de Klerk, how can I forget, the maestro at number 9, Faf de Klerk, old boy Willie Leroux, new boy Damien Willemse, Magazole Mapimpi and Malcolm Marks, who came out of injury but came through to support the boys in the final. Lucanio Am, who unfortunately didn't get to play, one of the best centers in the world, but who was there involved in the squad, and everyone else that's involved, from the physios to the coaching staff to the doctors to everyone. Shout out to the Springboks, man. The South Africans were so pumped. They were so nervous at the end. From France to England to this World Cup. A lot of people literally, I hope they're going to get their meds for all the things that happened. I'm making this video also, man, you know, outside of celebrating and congratulating the Springboks, to remind South Africans of we need to use the Springboks. I mean, we always say that they give us hope, but we need to use the Springboks to fuel ourselves and to be like, am I putting on a Springbok performance in my workspace, in my business, as a student? Am I a student's Springbok? In my family, am I building a Springbok family? One of the themes that came out from this World Cup is the importance of family. And the Springboks, every time after they play, you see the wives and the girlfriends and the fiancés and the children on the field to say that this is a family effort. These guys are not doing it on their own. So are we building great families? Are our children present? Are we present in our children's lives? Cheslin Colby celebrated his birthday on the evening, as emotional as he was. Happy belated birthday to Cheslin Colby. I think the day after, Eben Etzebeth celebrated his birthday as well, and it looks like his wife is pregnant as well. It's so special. So special. Again with this Rugby World Cup, man. So many emotional moments. Portugal, Fiji, Australia being kicked out, some of the other teams stepping up, etc., etc. Shout out to Ireland and France. I personally was hoping for a French-Irish final as the number 1 and the number 2 team at the time, especially for Northern Hemisphere rugby. It wouldn't be, unfortunately, and they had to fall to the swords of the Springboks and the All Blacks. We need to become Springboks in our lives. We need to look at the leadership of the Springboks. We need to look at the coaching staff and ask ourselves, are we doing the best that we can? Are we pushing for diversity in the spaces we're in? You are a manager somewhere. You are an executive somewhere. You are a principal somewhere. You are a sports coach somewhere. You are a pastor somewhere. You are a community leader. You are a political party leader somewhere. Are you bringing in diversity in your spaces where you can identify a Siya Kolisi, a Bongi Mbonambi, an Oxenche, a Cheslin Colby, a Damien Willemse in those spaces? If you're in black spaces, are you bringing in the Andre Pollards, the Peter Steph Dutois, the Eben Etzebeths, the Faf de Klerk into your spaces and pushing diversity in that regard? Because that's what we need. It is difficult. If you look at the Springboks as an old apartheid symbol, it has been a very racial space. And I've made videos about quotas. I've made a recent video about why I support the All Blacks, to try and paint a picture of how racist that space has been, but how they've actually pushed for transformation and made sure that people are picked on merit. Very, very important. So are we doing our bit in that regard? Are we fighting? Are we, even if it's 1 point, even if it's 1 rand, even if it's 1 additional hour of work, are we doing our best? Are you putting in 1 extra hour into your studies to make sure that you're doing well, especially with the matric exams that are coming up? I'm going to have to make a video trying to push the matriculants and also just giving them a reality check and a wake-up call that life may not be what they think it may be, but you need to pick yourself up from that. So we need to do that very much. And for many people that would like to figure out what is wrong with Bafana and why are they not like the Springboks, it really, really starts from a grassroots level. You will look at the Springboks, you will look at how well they've played, you look at how they win back-to-back World Cups, how they're the 4th, they've won their 4th World Cup, and they're the first team to have 4 World Cups with a richly diverse team that comes from a very polarized, very highly unequal society that is South Africa. It is because of the work at grassroots level. If you look at the more whiter, more affluent spaces, they develop their kids Billikies rugby from under 9 level. Then you look at the black counterparts, there's rugby development that started all the way from Silas and Kanunu and the boys back then. It is a journey. And from a very young age, parents are screaming on weekends, watching their 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds playing, and the parents are involved. So soccer parents, as much as most of them come from impoverished backgrounds, the parents need to go and support their children and be there and be present and to scream for the kids and to speak to the coaches and build relationships with the coaches. And then we need infrastructure, which unfortunately is an apartheid and colonization legacy. The rugby fields that young boys play on have got grass and they're well maintained. It doesn't matter where you come from. A lot of the soccer spaces that a lot of our boys have to play in, it's dusty streets, it's tarred roads, it's dusty fields. So we need an investment. And yes, we can blame government because our government has failed. But it starts with us, the parents and the community people, to say, we will develop better sports infrastructure for the kids. And we will also empower the coaches. If you can't pay the coach in money, make sure that you give them a plate of food. Make sure that you're donating some clothes. Make sure that you're giving them a place to stay. And you're giving them the balls. You buy them just soccer balls, football balls. You buy them cones. You buy them whistles. And you equip them and you equip the boys. And you give the boys also training gear and training kit. My father was a soccer coach and he owned soccer teams. And I'm getting involved in his teams that he had in Matadeni Township in Newcastle to say, I want to invest back in that. I was at Newcastle High where I played rugby and I need to reinvest in that, especially because it is no longer a white space. A lot of us black kids, colored kids, Indian kids that left Newcastle High have to reinvest in the school because that's what it takes. It's not a government thing. It is the people that went to the school. It is the parents of the school. It is the community in that school that sponsor, that donate to the kids. I've sponsored to my school before, t-shirts. I've sponsored a bit of money for the coaches and those things. So it's important that many more of us do the same. And then there is a rich schoolboy culture in South Africa. I can tell you the top 10, top 20 schools now, the top 50 schools. You can go on the internet and type in top 100 rugby schools. They are tracked. They have points. They are highly competitive. And a lot of money is pumped into these schools. We cannot say the same about our football. You can't give me the top 5 schools, the top 10 schools, the top 50 schools, and then go on Google and say which are the top 50 football schools in South Africa so that they are competitive. And at these schools, they poach a lot of players. They invest in players. Siya Kolisi was given a bursary at Grey High School. The best rugby school in the world is Grey College in Bloemfontein. You've got schools like Paul Roos Gymnasium in the Western Cape, which has produced the most Springboks. Johan Rupert, who I saw congratulating Rassie Erasmus at the stadium, is from Paul Roos Gymnasium. So is Damian Willemse. So is another World Cup winner, Skull Brits, and so many more before them. Paul Roos Gymnasium. There's Paul Gymnasium. There's Paul Boys. These are rich schools. Bishops, St. Andrews in Grahamstown, Kes, King Edward School in Joburg, JP Boys, Hoërskool Monument, Hoërskool Waterkloof, Garsfontein, Affies, Pietermaritzburg College, Glenwood, Kersney, Selborne, Dale, Queens. I can go on and on and on. There is a rich rugby culture, and I can tell you from a Newcastle High School perspective, we were not a top tier school. We are not a second tier. We were probably second, third tier at the time when I was there. Today they're struggling with rugby, but we were so professional. We had warm-up gear. We had sponsored jerseys, and we practiced 3 times a week, and we would give our all in games. And outside of the field, the boys would go to gym. They would run on their own. They would lift weights. They would take supplements. We were plugged in. And even at a school level, you can see this if you track schoolboy rugby, even at a school level, the boys in high school are running as fast as the professional players. The boys at school level are as heavy as professional players. I mean, Henry Pollard in matric at Paul Gymnasium, he was playing SC under 20 and he won the world champs. But he was already, I think, over 80 or 90 kilograms. You've got boys that are 80 kilograms. They are international level. They can kick some of these boys. You've got Umoyo from Kes. You've got JT Kapang from Hoërskool Noordheuvel. You've got, I think there's a great college boy, I'm not sure of his name. He became SA School's flower half this year. These boys can kick from 50 meters, 60 meters, just like a Henry Pollard, just like a Francois Steyn. Francois Steyn could kick 60 meters in high school. He went to Grey College. Mornay Steyn, from high school, these guys are world class already. Damian Willemse, from high school, was over 80 kgs, could kick a ball from 50 meters. Jaden Hendrikse, I watched him kick 60 meters at Affies playing for Glenwood. These boys are world class at a school level because it is so rich. So that by the time they leave school and they're going to varsity cup, they're going to professional, to club, they are already world class. I remember ex-coach of the All Blacks, I believe he won a World Cup, Steve Hansen. He said that we do not pick All Blacks. You must already be an All Black in the way that you're playing, so that by the time we bring you into the field and into the team and the system, it's no adjustment. You look at how Kanan Moody has slotted in so easily into the Springboks. Curtly Aronson, how he's slotted in so easily. Grant Williams. These boys from a high school level are already ready. They're already ready. There are so many more in this country. Sanele Nohamba, Hershey Yankees, Ambrose Papier, Elimpilo Kumete, Pepsi Telezi, Umtunu. There are so many guys as is. That's why even Mani Libok, when he comes in, it's not shocking. And you're like, how is it so effortless? It is because the systems and the structures are that brilliant. And then at school level, they've got these national weeks that identify talent. Craven Week under 13, Grand Homo under 16 week, and then Craven Week under 18. And then they have SA schools as well. And those are the main ones. There are so many other rugby weeks. Then you've got Wilderklaver. You've got the Easter Schools festivals in Johannesburg, St. John's, St. Stithians, and Kes. You've got the new Kersney festival now. There's the new Noordsait festivals that have come up as well. They are investments in the rugby weeks, and the boys are always playing competitively so that they know who is at the top. Before you even get to Craven Week, before you even get to SA schools, you already know who the top boys are. You already know who they are. So if South African football wants to be at that level, they must copy that blueprint. Number one, very, very important blueprint. Number two, they must invest in the nutrition and the socioeconomic infrastructure of the boys that play football, whether it's at school level or club level. Then you need to remove corruption. There's been corruption in rugby with Yuri Roo. I know at UJ there were issues with, you can go and Google these things, money stolen, money misappropriated, etc. You need to rid corruption. There's corruption in rugby, but the corruption is even worse in football. You need to cut down on the corruption. And then last but not least, you need great leadership. From SARU, SAFA level, from schoolboy rugby level, at junior levels, you need the best type of leadership there to develop the boys. And then they need to compete locally and abroad. Some of our schools get to play with the New Zealand schools, the Australian schools. They play overseas. They go on world tours from a school level, mostly because they have money. We come from a legacy of apartheid and colonization. But as far as possible, this can be developed. Shout out to Francois Pinard and his team and Varsity Sports. They've invested in rugby at varsity level, but they've also invested in football. And some of those people they've invested in have gone on to represent some of your bigger clubs, Kaizer Chiefs, Sundowns, Orlando Pirates, and. There is work that can be done. Bring in Francois Pinard, bring in Lucas Radebe, bring in Rassie Erasmus, bring in maybe Peter de Villiers, bring in other legends from football, Benny McCarthy. These guys have got they've got global experience. Bring in Pizzo Musemani, and he'll show you and he'll tell you what they do right in Barcelona, what they do right at Real Madrid and Manchester United. They have these academies from a young age. And I know Kaizer Chiefs have got youth academies. I know some of the other big teams, Sundowns, have got youth academies, but we can do much, much better than that. So my message is for people that want to ask, why is our football not that great? I know our cricket is tops as well, and it's mostly also almost like the rugby because it's mostly the same schools as well. Maybe some of these schools, maybe that's one of the solutions. Maybe take some of these top rugby schools and ask them to please invest in football in these schools because football makes a lot of money. I saw that the people that are winning the World Cup, the Rugby World Cup, they're getting the equivalent of about 113 million rands in prize money. 113 million rands. That can change your life. The salaries that Andre Pollard, Cheslin Colby, and those guys are earning globally are brilliant. So do the same for football because football, I think the prize money there was in the billions for the FIFA Football World Cup. So the FIFA World Cup, sorry, that's redundancy. But I'm just saying maybe some of these top schools, maybe they need to invest in football and have world-class football teams as well. And where possible, bring in some of the more talented players into those spaces. And then where possible, develop some of the more township, some of the less moneyed schools that are out there. Again, a big shout out and a big thank you to the Springboks. Thank you for lifting the morale of the country. Now it's up to us. The Springboks have delivered. The Springboks did everything in the worst conditions. Now it is up to me and you to say, what are we doing to repay and thank the Springboks and to show them that they are in a country they deserve. And they are not the only shining lights in this country. We are voting for the right political leaders. We are supporting the right community leaders, or we are putting our hands up to be community leaders. We are setting up WhatsApp groups in our communities to make sure that we communicate and we develop. We are closing the potholes. We are rooting out corruption. Wherever I work in a government department, I'm doing my best and I'm not corrupt and I'm not taking bribes. In the school I'm in, I'm developing the kids so that they can be the greatest kids they can be. In the company that I work for, I do the best that I can in my job so that we can build this economy. In my business, I hire people. I make sure that I'm constantly training my staff and I'm keeping them positive. And we have whatever it is, buy local Fridays or maybe Springbok Fridays. We are going to become a Springbok business and we will compete with the best in the world. And I make sure that I buy local. I buy from South Africans. I buy from black South Africans. I buy from white, colored Indian South Africans because I want the money here. I don't want the money going to America. I don't want the money going to Europe. I don't want the money going to Asia. I want the money at home. I'm not going to support foreign businesses unless I really, really have to. I'm going to support local as far as possible so that the Springboks come to a developed nation. And I will help build the systems and the infrastructure in sports, but also academically, so that our kids become brilliant in maths and science and other skills. We will build a world-class entertainment industry. We will build world-class neighborhoods, especially in our townships, and build them into something brilliant. It starts with me and you, and I want to thank Coach Rassi Erasmus, Coach Jacques Nienaber, Siya Kolisi, Bongi Mbonambi, and the rest of the Springboks. Huge congratulations to the boys. Really sad for the All Blacks, but they put on a fight, and they inspired many of us as well in showing a fighting spirit, even when you're on the back foot. But die mighty Bokke het die wêreldbeker gewen, en ons wil sê vir die manne, baie dankie vir al die hoop, baie dankie vir al die inspirasie wat julle vir ons gee. Siyanithanda kakhulu bafowethu. Ngicela ukubonga neGwijo squad ekade icula, ishosholoza, ilondoloza, iphusha abafana ade bese France. Siyanithanda kakhulu. It's Penny all the Black Pen. Have a great and blessed week. I love you and I appreciate you very much. Cheers.